If you desire to have a few pumpkins on display this fall, here's a few ways to make your own using upcycled items. I'm shaping some dryer vent hose into a circle shape, then cutting off the excess using scissors and wire cutters. The foil along both ends are being folded inside the tube. Using a nail, I'm poking about 3 holes around the perimeter of each end, then attaching the 2 ends together using floral wire. Once the first circle size is established, I'm creating one smaller and one larger so all 3 can be stacked. I'm now painting all 3 using muted Princess Pumpkin tones by Fusion Mineral Paint. The top pumpkin is being painted a warm terracotta tone called Chestnut Mare. The second pumpkin is being painted a soft white called Raw Silk, and the bottom is being painted French Eggshell for a bright happy dash of aqua. Trimming off the joining wires, I'm now stacking the pumpkins into position. I found they stacked quite sturdy without needing to be glued. I'm now hot gluing some Spanish moss where each pumpkin joins to another, then trimming it with scissors. This adds a cute rustic touch while hiding any gaps between the pumpkins. Next up, I'm applying some hot glue to a branch, then positioning it into the top of the pumpkin to create a stem. Some additional twigs and a real dried leaf from outside are being added. And my front door is now officially ready for fall. The stacked dryer vent pumpkins certainly make a unique fall statement thanks to their height and interesting details. Industrial lovers will adore this fall twist using canning jar rims. I'm choosing thicker edged rims since I had more of those, but either size will work. Snipping some twine, I'm threading the twine through the rims with the top edges all facing in one direction. I'm placing a thickly cut branch into the middle of the rims, then tying the rims around the branch tightly. My industrial pumpkins are now ready to turn heads. Making a team of 2, they are perfect displayed on an old black chair to help showcase their industrial metal vibe. You could even paint the rims too if desired. I'm unraveling the wire from the tube shape by cutting the foil, then pulling and finally clipping off the end with wire cutters. Next, I'm reaching for some dollar store beaded garland, then clipping the beads free from the twine. The beads are being threaded onto the spiral wire until full. Each end is being then bent with wire cutters to hold the beads in place. With the beaded wire compressed, I'm tying some neutral twine around one area to join them together. Opening up the spiral, I'm joining the 2 hooks on the ends, then threading through a thicker wire through the joined area to help strengthen and straighten it. This pumpkin is not only darling to look at, it's affordable too, thanks to the dollar store garlands. Let's head to the firewood stash for this charming and rustic fall twist. I'm cutting some round firewood and thicker branches at different lengths. Sizing drill bits to small branches, I'm drilling holes into the tops of each firewood piece, then inserting a branch to create pumpkin stems. I'm now hot gluing some dried leaves from outdoors near each stem. To create smaller leaves for the smaller pumpkins, some leaves are being cut down to size with scissors. And my rustic firewood pumpkins are now ready to take on fall with the most natural, nature-inspired vibe possible. With each pumpkin and stem and leaf being different, they make an interesting statement and impact when grouped all together. I hope this inspires you to think beyond a standard pumpkin purchase and upcycle your own custom pumpkins your way.
Run to your dollar store and grab some of these fantastic pumpkins. You can also pick up some flowers and a decorative plate. I grabbed a plate that had some colored pumpkins on it. For the first project, I cut the top off of one of the pumpkins. I used a hot glue gun and applied some hot glue to the cut area, and then simply sat the plate on top of it. That was all the work it took for that project. It couldn't get any easier or cuter. Next up, I grabbed another pumpkin, and this time I cut a hole in the center of it. I had to cut it at an angled toward the center so that I could pull out that first piece. Once that first piece was out, then I trimmed away more so that I could create a uniform space inside. Next, I took my faux flowers and set them inside of the opening of the pumpkin. It was a quick pumpkin decoration that looked really festive and cute. For the final project, I took 3 pumpkins and painted them using a spray paint. I used gold, but of course you can change the look of everything by using a different color. Once the paint was dry, I used skewers that I had and I inserted them into the pumpkins. The advantage of these pumpkins is that they're easy to penetrate with the skewers and easy to cut, as we've seen. Once I had the skewers in, I added some plant foam in between the pumpkins. Next, I added in some more fall leaves and created a tall decorative piece. I played around with the placement and the size of the leaves that I used until I got something that I liked. You could also add in some decorative ribbon along with the leaves and flowers. It's all up to your own imagination.
All I need is a trash bag and some paper from the recycle bin for this amazing fall project. I'm going to fill my bag with some leftover foam that I have from another project, but I could also fill it with packing paper or peanuts or even bubble wrap and get the same effect. I want to pack the foam in until the bag is completely full, and I want to try and keep it in somewhat of a round shape. I want to gather the top and start wrapping some painter's tape around that. With the same painter's tape, I want to give the bulk of the bag a little shape. I'm going to attach the tape to either the top or the bottom of the bag and then pull it tightly around the sides. I'm going to do this 6 or 7 times until I go all the way around the bag. To create the paste I want to use for the paper mache, I'm going to mix together just regular white flour and some water. I'm going to keep mixing it until I get a thick paste, making sure all of the flour is mixed in. I've grabbed some newsprint from the recycle bin, and before I start working on the pumpkin, I want to rip the newsprint into strips. This is going to make things move much more quickly once I get my hands covered in paste. With everything ready, it's time to start covering the trash bag with the paste and paper. I'm going to start by laying a piece of the newsprint in the paste, and then I'm just going to use my fingers to wipe off any excess. Once the paper is pasted up, I can lay it right onto the trash bag and it's going to dry in place. I'm going to keep doing this until the entire trash bag is covered in 2 layers of this paper and paste mixture. Now that everything is completely covered and all the paste and the paper is dry, it's time to paint it. I'm going to cover the entire pumpkin with this orange color that I created as a custom mix. I also want to paint the stem brown. The stem's actually going to be covered up, but I do want it brown in case any of the paper shows through later. To finish off the paint, I want to mix a little bit of this mustard color in for the second layer. The mixing of the yellow and the orange is going to help to give the pumpkin a more authentic look. With the pumpkin dry and painted, I want to use some brown glaze just to add a few lines around the pumpkin. In order to create the vines for this pumpkin, I've grabbed some thick jute twine and I'm going to dip it into this mixture of white glue and water. I want to squeeze out any of the excess and then I'm going to wrap it around this thick marker. As these coils dry, the glue mixture is going to harden and I'll be able to manipulate the curly vines. Finally, I want to attach the vines and cover the pumpkin stem. I'm just going to use some hot glue to keep the vines in place at the base of the stem. With the vines where I want them, it's now time to cover the entire stem with some thick jute twine. I'm going to make sure to put some hot glue around it as I'm wrapping it up just to keep the twine in place. This oversized pumpkin is so cute and it's the perfect piece for fall. These broken rackets were no longer useful, so I thought it would be fun to turn them into something charming for fall. I started this project by cutting off the handles of the rackets. With the rackets cut and ready to go, it's time to grab some paint. I'm using orange paint and I'm going to cover both the wood and metal frames as well as the racket strings. The chalk paint I'm using should have no issues sticking to it at all. The frames and strings will need 2 coats of the orange paint. For the top of each racket, I'm going to paint it using the same paint but in brown. I want to make sure and paint the sides as well so there's nothing showing. While the paint is drying, I want to make some vines. I'm going to pour some clear glue into a container and drop some of this thick jute twine into it. I want to completely soak the jute twine in the clear glue so that it's all covered. I can squeeze out the excess glue with my fingers. To get the shape I want for the vines, I'm going to wrap the gluey twine around a dowel rod and then leave them overnight to dry like this. Now that the glue is all dry, I want to pop the twisty vines off the dowel rod. How cute are these? For the largest of the rackets, I want to do something a little different. I found this great chunky yarn in a beautiful fall color, and it's going to be perfect to fill in the middle of the racket. I've slipped the end of the yarn through a large needle, and I'm going to thread the yarn in and out down the row of the racket. And to keep the ends of the yarn in place, I'm adding a dab of hot glue to the back at the top and the bottom. I'll keep filling in the rows until they're all filled with the yarn. To finish off the top of the rackets, I have some old bark that I want to add to that part. It's going to be great to add some texture and contrast. Some hot glue will keep the bark in place and it'll cover up the tops of the rackets. It's time to add the vines and finish these off. I'm just going to snip the vine in half and then hot glue one end behind the bark piece. I'm so excited to finally be able to use these old rackets. These pumpkins are perfect to leave up all fall and look so cute sitting on the shelf. I hope this has inspired you to turn your old rackets into some fall pumpkins as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Home Talk. I'll see you next time.